Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Guys, I got a great show for you today, man. A guest that we're going to talk to, I think you guys are really going to enjoy. He's also a fellow podcaster. I will get into that here in a second. First of all, man, I want to thank all the companies who helped make this podcast possible, man. First and foremost is going to be my friends over at Yellow Jacket. Guys, Yellow Jacket has been with me since day one. They have been an amazing company to work with, and they really do stand by their products. You know, if you guys are looking for anything, spending all that money you made from the summer, please go to your local supply house and check out Yellow Jacket. Some of their new vacuum pumps are amazing. The new digital analog, the digital gauges, the P51, 870, and 860, still a great option. And one of my guys ordered something himself, and he had an issue, which I'm going to be honest. He got it, and something was wrong with the screen. I said, hey, man, it's a manufacturing process. Stuff happens. I didn't call anybody that I know. I told him to go through the process with Yellow Jacket himself. I wanted to see how that process went when I wasn't involved, and they fucking nailed it. They nailed it. They took care of it. He got what he needed. He got it quickly, and that just showed me even more why I love being affiliated with this company. All right. So, guys, if you're looking for any new products, go check out Yellow Jacket, and remember, 70 years of expertise built into every tool. And so I don't have any issues like last week with the microphone. I pre-recorded this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States. And thank you to all those men and women who defend it. There we go. God bless the United States. Let's get on with this show, baby.
If you're trying to take your HVAC game to the next level, then buckle your seatbelt, crank up the volume, and try not to be offended. Because you're listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast with Gil Cavey and Kelly McKay. Now, here's Gil and Kelly.
What is up, everybody? Once again, good morning. Hope you guys are all having a great week so far. Hump day. It's fucking hump day. Guys, I got a great guest for you today, and I'm going to get right into it. It is going to be Mr. Let me hit the right button here. Mr. Brian Burton. How are you, sir?
Good, Gil. Good to finally meet you in physical form.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. We've been talking. I love to get to know different people. You guys, I'm going to let Brian tell his own story. I'm not going to put words in his mouth. But if you don't know, please go check out. Brian is the host, one of the hosts of the Waste No Day podcast. And just so you know, he is also the general manager of a Benjamin Franklin Plumbing out of Lancaster, PA. So he's actually not that far from me. Lancaster's only like an hour and a half, Amish country. Go up there and get some good homemade food.
Yeah, and maybe we can meet up at an Eagles-Ravens game one day.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, I got season tickets, man. So if they,
right.
So we can find a way to meet in the middle. But before
if you
I get
host the Lions this year, I'll show up for that one.
Yeah, well, we actually played the Lions in Detroit.
Oh, never mind. I remember that.
Yeah, remember. So yeah, it's I don't think we've had the Lions here in a good while though. But yeah, people are all talking shit to me. Yes, I'm wearing my Ravens stuff. I'm proud of my boys. But it's still a long way to go. Football's a long season, but I'm going to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, every win.
But enough about football. But let's I guess tell people a little bit about you, Brian. I know we were talking off air about your story, and I think it's a very, very powerful story that's going to resonate with a lot of different people out there.
Yeah, first, before I do, love the intro. I love the Pledge of Allegiance, but also what you said to the HVAC listeners, which was go spend some of that summer money. I think that's the one thing I love about HVAC is the manna from heaven all summer long. But that's the first time I've listened to your intro on anything but an earphone speaker. And I got like a big old, subwoofer down here, and it was just boom, boom. I'm like, yeah. I'm going to start listening to that before I do my podcast, just to be like, I'm amped, baby. Let's do this.
That's good. That's what I want to hear, man.
Yeah. So I don't know how far back you want me to go, but the further back I go, probably the more interesting it is. The more recent I get, the less interesting it probably is to your audience. But I grew up in Detroit, not the suburbs around Detroit, but actually in Detroit, Michigan, pretty close to Tiger Stadium for anybody who doesn't know the area too well. But I'm a third generation plumber, and kind of started in my career in plumbing as my grandmother, who I lived with at the time, found out that my twin brother and I were spending a little more time with the gangs and, drug dealers than she probably liked. So she started making our uncles pick us up and take us plumbing with them, like, for free, just sitting on a upside down 5-gallon bucket between the two front seats, as many of your audience, I'm sure, has done before. Learning the trade at, I don't know, probably 15. Well, probably started at like 14, 15. And at the end of I believe the end of 10th grade, I just dropped out of Detroit Public School and decided to go, make a career of this. So at that time, it was new construction out in Clarkston, Michigan, building big homes that, I never imagined myself living in, but fun to build them, at least in the summer. Carrying buckets of gravel and using a pickaxe on frozen ground to try to trench the undergrounds in, like a lot of plumbers have done before. And I remember loving the fact that I had something to do besides, sell drugs or just stay on the couch like most of the guys I grew up with, or go to prison or get shot. But I woke up every day thinking of going to swing that pickaxe into frozen ground. Like, why did I have to wake up today? Why was that absolutely necessary? It was a somewhat miserable existence for me in particular, because I'm really not a mechanical guy. I don't enjoy technical mechanical things. I enjoy people. I enjoy interacting with human beings, and that's what I really wanted to do. But so for whatever reason, somebody left the shop and they had a parts counter there. So they asked me to come into the shop, probably because I wasn't great at swinging a pickaxe. And I went into the shop and just started taking care of customers coming in to get their, Gerber and Price Pfister stems replaced and get new cups and springs for the Delta faucets. And I mean, we had a showroom, but the majority of what I did was just tearing apart people's old crusty plumbing and putting it back together with new parts. But what I really liked about it was just interacting with people and letting them tell their stories. And that was really fun for me. So I eventually left there because I talked to somebody from behind that counter who had an opening for a sewer and drain technician, and said, you probably already know enough to do this, so why don't you just come with me and I'll teach you the ropes and become a drain tech. So for a company called Drain Specialist and another one called Drain Right, I drove a Ford Ranger with a cap on the back and some sewer equipment in it, and just slung cables for a little while. They're very cheap. We were like $70 an hour, I believe, which was what we actually charged with it. And now I think it's just like insane. I don't know how. And what's great is, the best part for me is I would get done with a job that took me, two full hours to cable a tub drain. I'm kidding. Uh-oh, I lost you. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm fine. It's me. I hit the button by accident. Sorry, I was trying to stop it. I clicked the comments on Facebook to be able to reply to people, and it accidentally hit the sound. My fault, buddy. Keep going. That was my bad.
Are we live? Are we live right now?
Yes, we're live.
Pretty cool. We do audio only on Waste No Day because we started it for our own service techs when we couldn't bring them into train during COVID. And we didn't want them driving around, trying to look at their phone to see what was happening on the video. So we made it audio only. So this is actually my first video podcast. So I honored my shirt this morning. So,
Nah, you look good, man. I always look like I just woke up like a sack of shit. So don't, it's fine. And just so you know, we built this podcast audio only. I never put any, video. We just started doing this video thing the last like couple of months, and it was hit or miss before. So it was always audio only. I only started doing the video just to offer people different options, because some people like to see the guest and see the interaction. But trust me, if you're doing audio only, you'll be fine. Like it's.
Yeah, I like the video thing, but I do have to admit my palms are sweaty, which hasn't happened to me since I first started training, guys. I'm like a little bit nervous. But yeah, so I don't know where I left off, but so drain specialist was the first one. They came and got me, drive a Ford Ranger door to door and just unclog drains. And what was funny about that, because we deal with price concerns, like I'm sure you deal with price concerns, and everybody listening gets beat up for prices. We charge $70 an hour, and that could mean, in Detroit, that could mean I got my fly fishing waders on and waded through 3 feet of human excrement and, piss and like found a clean out and broke it open and put a cable in there while I was like wading in sewage. I was like, I don't know, 16, 17. I didn't know any better. I didn't know this is something I should probably not be doing without like a hazmat suit or something, but I just did it. Sometimes it was cut and stack and drop a cable down there and rod that thing out. And I would get done with doing that work, like just fighting these. I don't know how many plumbers you have listening, but I had this old Coleman cable where I had 8-foot sections that I had to click together and then send the next 8 feet through the machine down into the drain and then click the next one together. And when you pull this thing out, it just splattered sewage everywhere. And this is how I cut my teeth. And I would get done with the job and I would say, well, I was here for 2 hours, so it'll be $140. Not what I made, mind you. This is the total revenue the company took in for me doing this for 2 hours, not to mention a half-hour drive there and a half hour to the next job. And I would have a customer throw a fit. Like, all you did was just run that cable down there. You didn't use any parts. $140. So I always like to think back to that sometimes when I'm dealing with price complaints. But yeah, so from there, my wife got pregnant with our now 16 going on 17-year-old. And we weren't in Detroit anymore at that point. We were kind of in the outskirts in Southgate, Michigan, which is kind of a suburb of Detroit. But I got a phone call from my wife's dad, who he and my mother-in-law lived out in Las Vegas at the time. And he said, man, I got to tell you, I ran into a plumber at a gas station here, and he said he's going to make $80,000 this year or something like that.
He's rich.
I literally, it blew my mind. I said, well, he's just clearly a much better plumber than I am, which isn't that hard to do because, again, I'm not a mechanical guy. But I'll never be able to make that. I understand that. But, dude, if I could make 50 grand in a year, I'm a million. Move over, Mr. Gates. The Burtons are here, So we moved. So my wife didn't. She kind of drew a line. I don't want to raise our kid around, the gangbangers and stuff that you hang out with. And most of my friends at that time who weren't in prison or dead were kind of moving out of what we grew up in. But I was still hanging out with all those guys. So she kind of drew a line. If we're going to raise this baby together, I want away from this atmosphere to do it. So let's at least go give it a shot. So we moved. We never flew out. We never went and looked at it. The only thing I knew about Las Vegas was the movie Goodfellas. I'm sorry, not Goodfellas, Casino. That's about all I knew about Las Vegas. I had very little. Oh, and Fear Factor was on at the time. So I remember Joe Rogan sending people sliding down the Luxor in that episode of Fear Factor. But other than that, man, I didn't know anything about Las Vegas. But for the shot at making $80,000 a year and literally changing the scope of my family, I'm like, absolutely, we'll do it. So we moved out there. And it just so happened that first door I knocked on to go fill out an application was Ken Goodrich's shop, who's kind of a legend in the industry. He owned, Plumbing, Heating, and Air at the time. Actually, at that time, it was Green Valley Plumbing and M&S Air Conditioning, which would later become Plumbing, Heating, and Air. And Ken and his, at that time, general manager, Lance Fernandez, took what I felt was a special interest in me and kind of took me under their wing. Lance kind of had the close to the same upbringing as I did. I mean, I didn't have a dad, or at least didn't know him, in and out of trouble and like gangs and stuff like that. So they took a special interest in me and like molded me into what they were planning was not only to be a plumber, but to be a very good presenting plumber, a communicator, a well-trained presenter.
Yeah. Hey, real fast for all those people that don't know, Ken Goodrich is now the owner of Gettle, which is one of the biggest companies out there.
Yeah.
Just so you guys understand the context of who he's talking about and who trained him. Like if you want to pick one person on a hand and you want to pick somebody to be trained by, Ken's on that hand. So
that's your man.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure they realize who you're talking about.
Yeah, there are a few Kens in the world, like Kenny Haynes and Leland Smith, and a few names I'm probably leaving out, but Goodrich is up on very high on that list. And he trained Lance, and Lance trained me. But I got to spend a lot of time kind of seeing the back, or the, in the office stuff. If I didn't have a call, Lance would bring me in and just let me see stuff and let me watch what they do. And it really had an impact on me because I knew only mom and pop shops, only these shops that existed to have me run as many calls as humanly possible in a day. And which is very stressful, and it's a lot of work for very little result. And get in there and replace the tub waste and overflow as fast as humanly possible and get to the next call. Where what they taught me to do was stop, stand back, look at this system as a whole, and find anything that's not right about this system, and not necessarily to sell. They really didn't use that word too much, but to present options. So I went from, and we have a local Apple store. I don't know if you have one close to you, like where they sell the iPhones and chairs and stuff like that, here at the mall right next to us.
Don't waste your money on this. I got the new Apple Watch 7, and I'm an Apple whore if I show you the outside.
Same.
This is, I got it. I always had to have the latest and greatest, but it's keep your 6 if you have it. The 7's not really that different.
Yeah, I can't wear a watch just from my drain cleaning days. I tried to wear a watch back in the day, and I always would scrape it. So now I don't bother with jewelry.
I feel naked, but I'm sorry.
I'm a big fan of my Apple products too. As you can see, it's all Apple for me. But I would use this, and I go to tech schools, and I'll talk to these guys, and obviously I still interview plumbers all the time, apprentices all the time, and the first thing that we have to deal with, as a lot of your listeners know, I'm sure. So I'm the general manager of Ben Franklin Plumbing here. I co-manage 1 Hour HVAC, Ben Franklin Plumbing, and Mr. Sparky Electric here with my counterpart, Aaron Buckwalter. And 1 Hour, Ben Franklin, Mr. Sparky they have a reputation in the industry as, I can get on a Facebook group right now and post a 1 Hour brand, and I'll have at least 5 guys in the HVAC community say that, we rip off old ladies, or all we do is sell, and manipulate people. So the first thing I do when I go to these trade schools or in the conference room when I'm talking to a potential employees, I say, I want to dispel that myth. We do sell, we do upsell, absolutely. But the way we do it is not manipulative. It's not pushy. It's not forceful. We don't sell. I shouldn't say we don't sell stuff that people don't need, because we do. Because Gil doesn't need an Apple Watch 7, but you have one, right? Because you like nice shit. And we have a lot of customers here who enjoy very nice stuff and a little bit higher level of living. So the things we present to them are a little bit higher level things that they don't necessarily need. And we don't tell them they need it.
And they also don't not need it, though. So
I make them want it. That's for sure.
Well, exactly. It's our job to present it to them and let them make the decision. But if we never say anything, they never know about it. And that's what I think these guys get this mind fuck. I was talking with Miss Stacy Ford last week on last week's podcast that I feel like guys try to use their own pocket when they're talking to customers, and they don't know what customers want. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but this topic really gets me amped, because there's so many guys that are, I'm not a salesman. I'm technically, all you do is sell stuff. These guys are out there running 3-4 calls a day. They're good technically. They offer options. They get a kickback on the commission they make. And these guys are making fucking $150,000, $200,000 a year.
Keep going, man. We've got Gene Slade, the lead ninja himself, in our new training center here. Literally right now, while I'm talking to you, he is in my warehouse, formerly warehouse, now training center, training 80 of our employees on presenting. And what he calls it is, what do you call it? Presenting out of your own wallet. He's like, because you can't afford a HEPA filter and a whole bunch of IAQ products, you just naturally assume that your client can't. Or you say, I wouldn't spend this much money on this. So you assume that they wouldn't. Disregarding the fact that they have brutal fall allergies that you don't deal with, and a HEPA filter and a electronic filter or whatever would clear that up for them. But you've already you've decided that you're not going to present it to them. And as he says, does that mean you're doing something for me, or are you doing something to me in that case?
Not to mention the whole world just went through a fucking pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
Those ultraviolet disinfectant lights.
If that doesn't make a light bulb go off, then take a mallet and smack yourself in the nuts, because I don't know what does.
If that doesn't make a UV light bulb go off, I don't know what will.
Exactly.
So I use the Apple Store analogy in the way that I present it. So what I'll actually do is I'll go up to the whiteboard at like Thaddeus Stevens or one of these training or one of these tech schools, and I'll stand at the board and say, I'm going to write something up on this board here. And after I finish, I'm not going to turn around, but I want you to yell out the first word that comes to mind. All right. And, they all like look like they want to be on their phones. They're like, 19 and 18. And they're just like, whatever. Another one of these clowns like coming in to tell us how great new construction is or whatever. But I get their attention. And I literally look at the people in this class as me at 18, 19. And I could have very well just stayed in my mess in Detroit and never have learned a trade and seen what it could do for my family. So I get their attention. I'm like, yo, you guys good? Are we going to do it? You guys going to do it? And if anybody who's not looking, I'm getting eye contact with. And they say, okay. And I just turn around and I write selling tech. And I face the board and I say, go ahead, guys. No profanity. And the first one I always hear is scumbag. Scumbag is like a big one. For whatever reason, they're just waiting to blurt out that scumbag word. And it gets a little more colorful, as you can imagine. So I tell them that I completely understand, and I just cross it out on the board. And I turn to him and say that if you come to work for me, if you come to apprentice for me after you get out of here, you will learn to be a selling tech. Now, what that means to me and to the men and women that I train here to do that is going to be completely different than what you think it is right now. And let me explain. So I talk about the Apple Store right here. They all know it. And I say, I think this is like an iPhone 11. And they have the 12 out now, right?
13.
So, 13?
Yeah. Every 2 weeks, a new one's coming out.
Yeah. Whatever this is, I say, men and women, let's say I have a big old crack on this screen, right? And I walk over to the Apple Store. I set it on the counter, and one of those goofballs with the long red beard and all the acne walks up and looks at it and goes, we can fix that for you in about 45 minutes. It'll be $150. I say, okay, give me a minute. And I just go for a walk. And let me think about it. I come back in. He's not there. There's just some lady behind another counter. So I set it in front of her and don't say anything. And she says, yeah, here's how much it'll cost to buy the new iPhone 12. She doesn't even present the option to fix the crack, right? So the question I ask, and I pick one person, Gil, in the front row, who did me a disservice in that instance?
The lady who did only.
You're jaded. You know the answer.
Yeah. I'm.
But let's say young Tony here, who doesn't know the answer. What do you think they say 100% of the time? They say the lady who said you got to buy a new phone did you a disservice. And I say, why? Well, she didn't tell you could fix it. So what about the other guy? He told me I could fix it, but he didn't tell me I could replace it, right? How does he know that I know he has an upgrade from here? How does he know that I'm not a guy who I am, who, if you show me an upgrade and show me, here's $150 to fix this, or take that same $150 and put it towards the iPhone 12, but wait, look what all this thing does. This thing's really cool. And shows me all the like bells and whistles to this. I love like, toy functions of things. Like I don't care anything about the outside of my personal vehicle, but I love when it has all the Bluetooth and like gadgets and stuff that I get to play around with on the inside. So in my opinion, in the way I train my techs, both of those people did me a disservice. What I want to know as a consumer are my options. I want to know that I could fix that crack for $150, or that I could take that $150 that I'm going to spend anyway and put it into a new phone, or they have the iPhone extravaganza or whatever, 12 Pro, that has all these upgrades and stuff. I want all three. So, and then let me make my own decision, please. And I don't need anybody to push me. I don't need you trying to force me to get the big option. That's not going to go well for you as a salesperson. And I tell all of our people that. You don't push them into anything. But definitely, if you think this is the best option for them, sell like it is. Brian Tracy, a famous sales trainer, calls the best definition of selling I've ever heard is just a transfer of enthusiasm.
Yep. Amen.
Be as enthusiastic as you possibly can about the 12 Pro. And chances are, I'm a lay down sell. If you're not pushing me, I am easy. Just don't make me feel like you're telling me what to do. So this is the way we train. Option 1, replace the capacitor. Option 2, replace the capacitor and add indoor air quality of some kind. Option 3, it's a 13-year-old system or 18-year-old system or what have you. We can get a comfort advisor out and at least go over options for replacement for you. It's a simple matter of presenting options. So that's what I learned from Ken Goodrich and Lance Brandez in Las Vegas. And then as my journey goes, I left Detroit with a demon on my shoulder, if you will, which was a painkiller addiction that I blew out my ACL, got it repaired, and then I don't know, 4 or 5 months later, was just walking in the grass backwards, throwing footballs while still kind of like rehabilitating and like hurt my knee again. So a doctor kept me on Vicodin for 11 months. And, 2001, now everybody would think that's insane. You can't be on a prescription opiate for that long. But in 2001, there was no opiate crisis. Like you'd never heard of this. So it was just like, these are what the doc's giving me, And I think I knew at some level that they had a hold of me. When we moved out to Vegas, I kind of said like, and I'll be away from that stuff, It didn't take me long to like fall right back into it. And that landed me in the entire time I was there. I was in the throes of an addiction that ended in like oxys and everything. I mean, I was in a bad way. So instead of running a division for Ken Goodrich, which Lance kind of made me know that I was on my way to, I ended up having to fly to Pennsylvania to go through a rehab facility. And the reason I did the one in Pennsylvania was because my stepdad had actually gone through it. And my mom and stepdad and my wife's grandparents still lived there, which is actually here where I'm at now. So I flew out and went through this treatment program. And while I was here, I mean, this is a Christian facility. It's, biblically based, and it had an effect on me that was way more than just getting me off of oxys. It was much more spiritual and making me into a better person. And at some point, my wife saw the change in me and just grabbed the kids and moved here. I mean, she moved into my mom's basement, to be frank, and lived there for several months while I was still in the facility. And then we moved out, or I got out, moved into my mom's basement with her, immediately went to 2 companies, one local here that I won't name, but they sent me a letter saying, thanks, but no thanks, which was shocking to me because I had the credentials I had were pretty legitimate. And then this one, which was Larry Rohrer, who was the owner at the time, father of the current owner, he hired me almost like immediately. He knew Ken Goodrich. I brought a big old box with all of my like accolades and awards and things that I said I'm capable of. And then I don't know, a year and a half later, he told me he was looking to retire and wanted me to take over the Benjamin Franklin department. So, man, it was like whirlwind, completely out of everything. Wife, like living off of credit cards, me going through rehab to like 2 years later, long 2 years, but right now it seems like the blink of an eye, to taking over a division, a plumbing division, a very respected plumbing division in Roar's 1 hour Benjamin Franklin, Mr. Sparky. At least in the tri-brands in the 1 hour space, this is 1 hour number 5. This is the 5th ever 1 hour that Jim Abrams and Terry Nicholson started back in 2000, 2002, something like that. So it's a highly esteemed brand. So just almost like that. I mean, so I got into a truck, did very well in a truck here. I mean, I was as driven as I'd ever been, probably more so. I'm fresh out of rehab. We have nothing but debt. I mean, we barely exist. We're in my mom's basement. But I had significantly more integrity than I had before. And I was not a guy who would rip somebody off even back then, even in the middle of addiction. So I made a name for myself pretty fast. I was probably doing the revenue of the next two or three plumbers that we had here at the time. So Larry said he wanted to retire. And his son and his son's business partner, Matt Buckwalter, who are my bosses now, they just really didn't want to manage the plumbing division. So they brought me out of the truck, gave me a real opportunity here to oversee a division, a year and a half or so out of rehab, which still to me blows my mind to this day. But yeah, I capitalized on that opportunity. I feel like I've been very fortunate and very blessed, and the people that come through here, the hires that we make are just significant human beings. We have
That's
a great
awesome.
management team that's been able to keep me accountable to make sure that I'm not like backing into my mess. And I think it was maybe 2 years later, Aaron Buckwalter, who is the owner, Matt Buckwalter's brother, manages 1 hour, and I manage Benjamin Franklin. The Mr. Sparky division lost its manager to unforeseen circumstances. So the two of us became co-manager of Mr. Sparky, which kind of blended at some point into what is now the two of us just managing all three companies. I mean, if you work for any of the three companies and need something, you can see either one of us for just about anything. At the end of the day, if there's, if the numbers aren't getting hit, which are very important, or our Google ratings starting to slide, if it's Ben Franklin, the buck stops here. I'm accountable. If it's 1 hour, it's Aaron. If it's Sparky, it's either of us. But other than that, where the buck stops, we manage all three brands. So, and in what seems like a very short time, I'm from sleeping on a bunk bed with, 7 other drug addicts in a room about the size of this office for 14 months of live-in psychotherapy and study and Bible study and counseling 5 days a week, like 13 church services a week. That just an insane existence for a guy who's like 30 years old. It's all drug addicts, and it's very confined. There's 200 men there at a time who are all in a pressure cooker,
I don't want to interrupt you, but first of all, so you know, I'm glad you saw the light, man. I'm glad that you got yourself straight. If you'd never heard mine, I come from addiction too, my man.
No, I didn't. But I did say, like, my story won't be very unique to you because there's a lot of this story. Unfortunately, a lot more who didn't end up getting help in time, as I'm sure you know many.
Yeah.
But this is something. There is something about the trade where it's like
it's hard.
You almost can't mess up enough to not be saved by the trades, but at the same time, it's a grueling, vicious existence that really wears on people if you don't do it right. And we have Gene Slade training in our. As I'm speaking to you, he's in our training center right now, training our techs. And one thing he says is that this will cost you your marriage. This trade will cost you your family. It's just work. It's never off your mind. It's never off your phone. And if you're not figuring out how to become better, not as a technician, but as a communicator, as a presenter, so that your time that you spend on this job gets less and less, while the money that you make gets more and more, you are going to cost yourself your life. It's almost guaranteed.
I agree.
It's very hard to tell that lie.
And even though these stories, some they may be similar, I think it's still good for all these guys and girls out here to hear it, to know that people are making it, that it is, the more they hear, the more it's going to resonate with them, that you're not stuck. I know you feel like you're at rock bottom and you can never, ever get out of it, but you can. You just have to want to, and you got to take that step. If you'd asked me 15 years ago that I would be where I am now, I'd have called you a fucking liar. Me and my wife both. So we go around and tell our stories sometimes now, because we are a couple, and normally couples together aren't supposed to get clean together. Well, we defied the odds. The fact that we're still together with 2 more kids after it is very rare. So I, at least once, twice a year, I always love doing a podcast, whether it's on mental health, whether it's on drug addiction, just to let them know, drug addiction, alcohol, it's all the same. Just to help people know that there is a way out, man. And like, I've had some people hit me up, and I'm no expert at it. I just lived it, you did, but more than happy to help.
You're an expert.
Yeah, well, true. Just more than happy to help anybody get through it, man. Cause you know how it is. All it takes is that one conversation, that one phone call, that one email, letter. Nobody writes letters anymore. It's fucking 2021. But, that one thing that fucking is that aha moment that hits you, that makes you turn the corner. And if your story right now or mine can do that to somebody else, then so be it.
How huge is that?
Yeah.
So Team Challenge Training Center is the facility I went through. It's actually not for teenagers. It's 18 and up. It is an adult program, but when it was started, it was for teenagers. So it's called the Team Challenge Training Center. And like you and like every company, we have guys who are great producers and great human beings, and then all of a sudden that all goes away, and you start noticing they're falling asleep at the meeting, and they can't work today, and they're calling in and I know, like immediately, I can smell addiction from 6 miles away in a broom closet. We've made the offer many times that either I personally, and usually the bosses say, no, we won't let you do that. We'll cover it, but I will pay for your stay as an HVAC tech, plumber, or electrician to go to that facility. I'll pay for it myself, or we as a company will pay for it. You have to go all the way through. You have to get your medal, which I have hanging at home, and then you will have your job back here, and you won't lose anything. You won't lose pay. You won't lose status. Nothing. We'll be that happy to get you that help. But yeah, for you and me, for us to be able to have conversations with people, like, we know the reason you're an expert is you know what it's like to get a fix, and all the baggage and the dread and the stress goes away, and you just kind of get emotional, and then you think, that was the last one. I'll never do it again. That's it. I just needed that last one. And then 6 hours later, you're feeling out again and on it next. We know exactly what that feels like, and we've done it, dozens or hundreds of times or whatever it's been. We know what your next step is. We know how hard it's going to be. We know there's nothing you can tell us. We know you can't afford to go to rehab because you have people dependent on you. Find me on Facebook, Brian Burton. Waste No Day Podcast is in my title. Benjamin Franklin Plumbing's in there. Shoot me a private message if it's something you're struggling with. It will never leave my inbox, I assure you. And I'd be happy to chop it up with anybody. This is actually, despite us having, we have like 60 something episodes, but the first half of them were 2-parters. So we're at like 40 episodes or something. This is actually the first time I've told my real story and what I came through and where I came from. So
that's awesome.
I just thought this would be a cool place to do it. I mean, you've got a lot more listeners than we do. And, Yeah, I don't know why, but I just figured this would be a great place.
Hey,
to really
it was the man upstairs calling. The fact, and especially the fact that you didn't know my story.
Yeah, so
that's what makes this even better.
I didn't know we started our podcast in January of this year. I didn't know yours or any of the other ones existed until, we had Brent Buckley on. And Brent Buckley, I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah.
$7 million.
Oh yeah, I know Brent.
HVAC guy. Well, Brent and I came up together. He started like maybe 4 months after me at the same company. We both came up under Ken and Lance. And we trained together like animals for years. And he was one of the first people I hit up to come on the show. I'm like, bro, I want to catch up with you now. I didn't really know what he was doing, but I just kind of heard through the grapevine he did $7 million on almost all maintenance calls in 2020, which is just like. So before I had him on, he just asked me if I've heard him on any of these other shows. And I'm like, they got other shows? I was like, yeah. So he put me on to a few shows, and I'm not somebody who, I know it seems like there are some people in the industry and in podcasting who think like, if you gain a listener, I lose one, which is crazy to me because most of us do an hour a week.
Yeah.
I feel like I drove 10,000 hours every week and would love to have like one more hour of cool stuff to listen to. That's great. But I talk about them all the time. It's like this HVAC Masters of the Hustle, the To the Point podcast, the Rhino guys, they're probably like, I always push it on my text here because I'm like, this is how you think bigger. But most of my text it's too like management or high level for them. I disagree personally. I think everybody should check it out. But yeah, this one in Master of the Hustle, this is for field techs. You know, this is stuff that like when I was driving around all day, I wanted to hear. I don't have a friggin' tape deck in my truck when I started at out there in Vegas. And Lance gave me, it was Brian Tracy's. It was like one of the 12 or so tapes from his The Psychology of Selling. I tell this story here all the time. He's like, he made me shake his hand in the beginning. He asked me if I wanted to be a plumber or if I wanted to be bigger. I'm like, well, I don't know what you mean. He said, do you want to make more money? Do you want to do bigger things? Or do you want to be a plumber the rest of your life? And I said, I want to do bigger things. And he said, well, I can show you how. You got to do what I say. I'm like, okay, yeah, I will. And he's like, you got to do what I say. If you want to be successful, you have to do what I say. And I'm like staring at his hand, like fairly intimidated. Obviously, this is an intimidating thing for me. Let me tell you, man, I've never heard anybody motivational. There was no YouTube growing up. Everybody just kind of had a seemingly dreadful feeling that I grew up around. And this very well could have been my own dread and like anxiety and stress and just depression of what I was like growing up in. But that's what it felt like to me. And this was the first human being I'd ever seen spoken with that was motivational. It was just like, there's something in you. Shake my hand and I hope you pull it out. And I've reached my hand out and I agreed that whatever he told me to do, I would do. And sometimes this would just be the most awkward conversation in the world on an airplane while we were flying out to Tom Hopkins sales training boot camp. Or sometimes it was like crazy stuff like CIA training crap where he'd be like the bartender up there. Go ask him, go find out what he does outside of bartending or what his ambition is. What does he want to be when he grows up? Like he would do this stuff to me all the time because I had a hard time having conversations with strangers. I mean, looking like me in the Detroit public school, I did not try to stand out any more than I already did. It was lay low, keep your head down, don't get jumped, don't get shot, and like get home as early as possible.
Baltimore's the same way, just so you know.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he was always pushing me out of my comfort zone. It was the first thing I'd ever seen or heard of that was like motivational, inspirational. But yeah, so I don't even remember where I was going with that.
Oh, well, just how he made you promise and held you accountable, and
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was talking about the tape. Yeah, so the tape, he made me promise like anything he said to do, I would do, and he pulled this one tape out of nowhere, seemingly, and it was 1 hour. It was like 30 minutes on one side, 30 minutes on the other side. It was from Brian Tracy's Psychology of Selling, which is the best-selling sales book of all time. And this was 1 hour of a 9-hour book or 12-hour book or whatever. And he said, listen to this tape 100 times. Here's a sticky notepad. Here's a pen. Put a sticky note on your dashboard. When you listen to it once, Roman numeral number 1. When you listen to it twice, 2. When you're done 100 times with this 1 hour tape, bring it back and I'll give you another one. So it was 21 great ways to be a sales superstar. And it was 1 hour. And it was flip, side B, flip, side A, flip, side B. And I did it. And the worst part is, not that I had to listen to the same. I mean, Brian Tracy's monotone, I'm sorry. He talks like this. He's got very little voice inflection or tonality change. The stuff is rich. I mean, it is really good stuff, but he's not very entertaining. So I bring this tape back and these sticky notes, like, boom, baby, got to 100. Well, he has this, like, it looks like a briefcase, but it's plastic. And he sets it on his desk and he opens it like a hatchback, like this. And it is tapes, like rows and rows.
Oh,
like,
shit.
I mean, Lance is like 6'1" and he was pretty fit. So I'm not like, but I did have, at least for a second, I had it in me to like smash that thing over. I'm like, dude, why would you make me listen to that tape 100 times when you got like 100 tapes here? And he said that was the one that most did it for him. That was the one that made the most light bulbs go off. And I'll tell you, like, listening to an hour of sales training for 100 hours, it didn't make or break me. It wasn't insanely revolutionary. I can't say that if your new plumber or HVAC tech does it right now, he'll be a beast when it's over. But I would be presenting a Moen 1222 cartridge or whatever, and I would be saying, but your house is only 2.5 years old. You know, this cartridge shouldn't be this eaten up. Let me test the water or whatever. And something would slip out, like, that I had never thought of or said before. And I would go, oh, like that was straight from that tape. This isn't something I would normally do. So what he really did was like help kind of program me, I guess, or something. But there was certainly like an obedience factor. I felt like he just wanted to make sure I would do what I said I would do. And I got that 100 hours in, man. And then I finished that book, and then it was just kind of off from there. So we traveled together. Like I was convincing my wife, you know, I'm the guy who made, I don't know, maybe like 32 or 38,000 the year before. And now I'm getting her to let me spend $3,000 to fly to Arizona and be at Tom Hopkins. Tom Hopkins is a high level, one of the original, like the OG sales trainer. Everybody in sales knows who he is. We actually had him on our show not too long ago, which was like a huge deal for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but he's one of the gurus all time of selling. So I talked my wife into spending a few grand that we didn't have. We're like, it's going on a credit card. Go out to Scottsdale, Arizona, spend 3 days at his sales training boot camp with Lance, take in everything we could, come back, hit it hard. I mean, I doubled my income the first full year in the truck, which was a big deal. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Even going from whatever it was, 33 to 66. Doubled it the first year, but it was by money spent. I mean, Gene, who's again training us right now, has a saying: people who pay attention. So what I got out of that boot camp, by way of the fact that I'm going into debt to go there, much bigger deal than probably most of our guys who are in this training with Gene right now, and a thing that the management team is paying for, and they're not paying anything for. We got a lot more out of it. It's people who pay attention. So I would, I don't like to preach or try to tell people what to do, but I'm a big proponent of, like, find a mentor, number one. Number two, go pay somebody to train you. Go pay somebody to help you increase as a presenter, increase as a communicator. When you get better at communicating and presenting, your whole life gets better. I don't care if you're an installer and you don't want to sell IEQ. All I do is go put my gas furnace AC in,
and I don't want to hear anything about a micro power guard or an air scrubber or whatever, right? That's you. We got those guys too.
And I think that's what happens. I'm glad you brought that up because it's so true. And we'll touch on that before we start to close this out. Time goes by so fast, but I don't want to miss a part of this. But, what we were talking about before is, there's guys that are very good technically but they can't learn that communication part. Guys are, like you said, you're a great communicator, can't do the technical part. Find someone to train.
Bad at both to start with, which was really shitty, but
yeah, but that's fine. But look where you are now, and you learned how to communicate, and you learn. You know what I mean? Like you said, find someone. There's somebody out there that trains for everything. You can find someone to teach you to be a better communicator, to be a better technician. There's always ways to get better. What guys can't do is become biased of what they're not good at. Oh, I'm a good tech. I'm not a communicator. Fuck those sales guys. All they do is try to sell. No. Wait, hold. You know what I mean? Don't knock something because they're doing something that maybe you can't do. Yeah, maybe those guys can't fix what you can fix, but they're more well-rounded as a whole. They can fix enough. They're good communicators. You know what I mean? And they're disciplined. They got taught a process and they stick to it to a T. So you can't fault that person for doing what they're taught. But we keep hearing all these people, I'm not a salesman. And we weren't recording. You said this off air, but I love what you said when you said you tell your guys about, the options. And it's not about, you're not getting it with your pocket. Okay. We need to just present options. Well, you pretty much kind of the same thing you said with the Apple, the phone thing. Guys, we're just there to give them options. The customer will make their own decision. But if you go there, you change that capacitor, you change that, cartridge. I don't remember plumbing stuff, but trying to get it to go both ways. And then all you do, if you give them no options, you change it and you leave. Trust me, you're not doing what's best for the customer. You think you are, but you're not. I promise you're not.
Yeah, when I have, and we still have them all the time. It's usually like more seasoned guys that we bring in who are mechanics already, who are, HVAC specialists and plumbing specialists and full-fledged electricians. We bring them in and they say, look, I just want to fix. I don't want to sell. It's not some people come in here and say, I want to be a better salesperson. And I'm one of those people. I asked my boss at that time, where can I go? What can I do? Where I can just go become better at communicating and selling. Flat out, I want to get better at it. And he said, the hardest thing I've ever heard of is timeshare. So I left my very secure 6-figure job and went to a commission-only, 2 kids now at this time. So if you want to know if I was really high, yeah, I was really high. So I left my very secure 6-figure job where I was on the rise and went to a straight commission-only. I had to spend 4 weeks at $250 a week salary to get trained and get a mini real estate license to go and try what my mentor, Lance, was an HVAC tech turned comfort advisor turned manager. What he told me to do, which was the hardest selling he's ever heard of, is timeshare. So go do that. So I went and did that, and it was the best sales training I've ever had. And you get plopped at a little table. I mean, the table's this big. It's you. It's 2 people who are on vacation in Vegas for the first time in their lives. And some lady down on the street corner said, hey, you want 2 tickets to this Cirque du Soleil show? And we're like, heck yeah. Hey, just go in here and let this guy talk about a resort to you for a few minutes. And then you can just run off with your tickets. And I'm going to go sell them like a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 vacation package. So if you want to know what hardcore selling is, and understand that I'm not a pressure guy. I would never get red in the face or treat you with an attitude as you're saying no. I literally internalize when you're rejecting me. I'm like, I hate rejection like everybody. I feel like I'm getting just beat down about it, and I get fall in onto myself. But I don't know. Maybe it was a good thing I was on drugs at the time, because I'm not sure I would have done that sober.
That's funny.
Give up a 6-figure job where I'm like climbing the ladder. But I did it and learned more about communicating. And actually,
Dave Ramsey right now is very anti-timeshare, and there's a lot of like bad publicity around timeshares. And I will say deservedly so, because even where I worked, 60% of the people I worked with were horrible. They lied to everybody about what this stuff would do. But I actually love the stuff, much like my water treatment or IQ or whole home surge protectors and stuff. I found products that I fell in love with and got behind them. So what got me out of the truck here wasn't that I was a great plumber. It was I was so in love with what removing chlorine and the disinfectant byproducts and the dead organics that the chlorine kills, removing this stuff from people's water, it just meant everything to me. And then I get here and I'm like, they're like, hey, you can also sell these, UV lights and, air cleaners and electronic air cleaners. I'm like, really? All right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if the definition of selling is a transfer of enthusiasm and I can leave anybody with anything, I would say, forget about selling. Get enthusiastic about something that your company offers and talk to customers that have it and see how excited they are about it. And then on your next install or whatever you do, just strike up a conversation with somebody. Don't even try to sell it to them, and tell yourself, I'm not even going to offer it to them. I'm just going to have a conversation. How much do you know about this? And they will either thank you for your time or they will ask you if you can put it in for them. What they will not do is explode into flames or pick up the kitchen chair and start beating you over the head with it. This is not how it works, despite the fact that we all start with this level of anxiety that this is what's going to happen. Nobody goes into Walmart and gets mad when I get to the checkout because they got all these magazines and candy and batteries and mints sitting right here. That what are they there for? They're literally there to sell me. I'm not pissed off at the Walton family for putting it there. That's the only way they can sell it. And the only way this company, your company, can sell what's in the warehouse or in your truck is if you talk about it, because we don't have commercials for everything. We don't have shelves where the homeowners can see pictures of all this stuff. We just rely on you guys as technicians to go into the home and talk about it. And that's all it is. Selling is, the word needs to be removed from our vocabulary. We're just presenting options.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me, kind of like, the stuff that happened with cops. Is there a few bad apples? Yeah, but they're not all bad. It's the same with the selling tax. Is there a few guys out there, they're scumbags? Yes, we know that, but not all of them are. Majority of them aren't. And so that's the thing. Like, I remember sitting there talking to a customer and I said, I saw that they had a nice Air filter. I'm like, okay, so they care about air quality. Okay. They obviously care. I said, hey,
UV light go down over your head.
Yep. I asked them about UV lights. We ended up, they cleaned their ductwork, even though that I told the customer, I said, with that filter, you're probably fine. We always show them first on the camera. And she was like, there's enough in there. I want to clean it. I was like, okay, as long as you see what you're getting. So we did a duct cleaning. She did a UV light, a Remy Halo LED, and something else, just by me having a conversation with her. And she sold herself.
Yeah. She
didn't even know those products existed. She said that between her and her youngest son, they had a lot of allergy issues. That's why we didn't install the system. That's why the company installed it. She said something about the filter, because she got sick having to always buy this medicine. Her son always had to miss school, so therefore she had to miss work. And the fact that her husband made more, he would go to work and she'd have to be the one to stay home. She was pretty much telling me her problem. And then when I fixed it, that lady loves me. Like, she loves it because I presented an option that literally changed her life. She doesn't have to miss work. Her son doesn't have to miss school. She doesn't have to waste money on allergy medicine all the time because we just fixed her problem. Like, that's how you got to think about it. Not that, I'm going to go rip off Miss Jones. That's not how it works. And I just wish people would take those blinders off, man, because I think a lot of people could be making a lot more money doing exactly what they're doing if they just presented options. You can make a lot of money in this trade. You can make a lot of money in this industry, being legit, honest, and not a fucking scumbag, as we said earlier.
You'll have a hard time everybody outside of our building right here, our neighbors, they have plenty to say about our techs, and we have two of the highest producing guys in 1 hour, all of 1 hour, number one and number two in service techs. We will have the number one Sparky tech this year, and we'll have one of the top plumbing truck revenue guys. If you sit and have a conversation with one of these dudes, you will have nothing bad to say about them. I assure you, it's all above board. To your point, are there shitty installers out there? Are there installers out there who you think one day is going to kill somebody with their crappy install? Yes. Does that mean you, as an installer, are that? Of course not. Or I hope not. Certainly hope not. It's the same with like your selling tech or your comfort advisor. I saw one in the, I forget which HVAC Facebook group, but somebody just randomly said, if you sell things for a living, you will say anything to make your commission. And I'm just like, that's it. And he had like 200 likes. Like that blanket statement is it. And all that tells me about that guy is whenever he wants something from somebody, guess what he does? Lies, manipulates, cheats, anything he can do to get what he wants out of somebody. But we don't train that way. Our guys don't train like that.
It's ignorance, man.
Yeah, it's not knowing any better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we hope to change that. So yeah, the Waste No Day podcast. If you're ready to move on, I didn't mean to hit that.
No, you're good. You definitely, because we're going to get ready to close this out. I definitely want to talk about your podcast. Guys, I will, when this is done, I will put the link to his podcast in this, and I will also put the link to his podcast in the audio version. Just so you guys know, definitely go check out the Waste No Day podcast, Brian's podcast. And even two of the guests, I have listened to bits and pieces of it when me and Brian first got introduced and started talking. You guys should definitely check it out. I mean, he just said two, Brent Buckley, and then
Tom Coggins.
Yes, Tom.
Tim Kennedy of Hard to Kill and Hunting Hitler. Tim Kennedy's been on. Tom Hopkins, Gene Slade, Weldon Long, Gene Slade. These guys are like high level sales trainers that really want to hear about this stuff. These are guys you want to listen to the episode, find them on Facebook. They tell you where to find them and hit them up and just see what they have to say. But yeah, we started the podcast in January of 2021. As a result of the fact that we couldn't bring our guys in and train them through 2020, COVID happened, and our people, we do some fairly dynamic, like fun training, and they were hitting us up like we feel out here on our own island, like disconnected, and we don't feel like we're part of the team. And this place is very big on team and culture. Like if you walk through the hallway right now, I just heard they let out for break. It's all fist bumps and like everybody hyping each other up. So we decided to start the podcast for that reason, doing one a week, interviewing technicians from the field. And then people outside of our company started hearing about it and started asking to hear these things. And then after the Brent Buckley episode, people started saying, we want more sales stuff. So I went out of my way to like try to get a hold of Tom Hopkins, which is just insane. Like, why the hell is he ever going to come on my retarded show? Like what a joke this was. And to my shock, like my story that I told in email and his people, it resonated with them. And I knew a lot about his old training programs because I was in them all. So he came on the show. And then after that, it started getting fairly easy to book like sales training guests. So yeah, so it's kind of morphed into something a little bit more, a lot of like, now it's just better life. I guess I would say we have like nutritionists and dietitian type people on and, physical fitness gurus on, and I really want to do more of that, not less, because I'm not the fittest guy in the world, but most of the time I was in a truck was the most unhealthy dude on the planet. But, it's Rockstar or Monster energy drink in the morning with a garbage breakfast, and then usually no lunch, but Red Bulls all day, and then dinner time, it's time for a little pleasure. So it's like McDonald's on the way home and like soda and chain smoking. I was probably up to 2.5 packs of Newports a day before I went into rehab and just kind of gave everything up. But
it's just unhealthy on top of unhealthy on top of unhealthy, really dragging back our lifespan as technicians of our earning potential. But also, we just feel like crap all day. Getting out of your truck and your knees and ankles hurt. And it doesn't have to be this way. So in our show, we've really taken more of a full approach to, like, healthier techs, better technicians, motivational and inspirational is what I would call it at this point. But we still interview technicians and try to keep it about HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, which is what it started as. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's the show. WasteNoDay.com. It's on all the platforms, iTunes, and all that.
Yeah, well, I'll find the link and I'll get it put out on all there. And if you guys want, man, you're more than happy to, like, the next episode you do, share it in my Facebook group.
I don't think I'm in there. Yeah, send me a link. I'll get in.
Yeah. So, go ahead and share it in there. I mean, we used to be like 70, 80,000, but the Nazis Facebook shut us down. So it's slowly building back up, but the traction will get there. There's probably 100, 150 people a day minimum trying to get into the group, but just making sure that they're HVAC.
What's the group called?
HVAC Uncensored Nation.
Okay. I'll talk about that in our episode that we're going to have Gene Slade on again. We're going to record it tomorrow. It'll probably play Monday or the following Monday, just because he's here training, and it makes perfect sense to have him, like, in studio for his second interview. Might even bring his fiance on. We haven't told him that yet, but she's here. So.
Miss Brittany.
Yep, Brittany. Might even have Maverick on because he's here too.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, me and Gene got to get our schedule worked out. I know he's been so hectic between his conference and different training that we got mixed up with our schedule, and obviously it sucks because I always want Gene to come on, man. He's just very powerful person.
Dude, Gene, he's explosive, man. That's a dynamic dude that really leaves an impact wherever he goes. But I saw you guys talking on Facebook that you're going to have him and Coral Whale on at the same time, that's going to be pretty earth shattering. That's all. Yeah. All right. I listened to her on Masters of the Hustle, and I'm like, she's not just a woman in the industry. She's a leader in the industry.
Coral is no joke, man. If you're the kind of guy you think she's a woman that you need to be careful, she'll step on your throat and go right past you. I mean, she's
and outsell you.
Yes, she is the real deal. Yeah, because we're gonna do just Gene, just Coral, and then one with them both. And that's just value to everybody. So I can't wait till we get those. I know it's just everybody's schedule being so busy. Before we wrap this up. I like what you said about the different health things and stuff like that, because we've had a few guests like that, and I try to do more because it really does. It affects all of us. Like, there's a thing that I want to tell people. I'm not sponsored. I'm not getting paid by them in any way, but it's called Oats Overnight. A lot of us don't eat breakfast. We eat a bullshit lunch, and then we go home and eat dinner, like you just said. It's this company that they give you one of those little shakers things, and then you get the packets of oatmeal that literally at night, I already ate mine, but you pour like 8 ounces of milk in there, the packet of the oatmeal stuff, you shake it up, put it in the fridge. In the morning, you grab it, you shake it up again, and you can literally drink it. It's like cold oatmeal, which sounds gross, but it's not. It is fucking delicious. It's got all the protein and the vitamins and shit you'll need for the day. And I'm normally not hungry until I get to sometimes 2, 3 o'clock, and I can hold off until dinner time, or maybe I'll grab a little snack. But I've been able, I stay pretty fit because I work out with my 4 kids. My oldest son is an athlete, but that has been huge for me, and it's something that's so cheap. So I tell people to check that out, oatsovernight.com. It's been awesome. I love it.
Cut out the sugar. That's what I tell people. Knock it off with the sugar.
Well, and anything in moderation. You know what I mean? It's just, you eat whatever you want. Just don't eat, you want lasagna? Don't eat the whole fucking dish of lasagna. You know what I mean? Let's just
not eat the whole lasagna dish. First off, I don't know what kind of superpower, willpower you have, but I'm praying my kids don't finish their lasagna.
Yeah, no, that is pretty funny. My wife makes a beast-ass lasagna. But I know it's getting late, man. We'll cut this off, man. Brian, thank you so much for coming on.
Before we do, one guest we had on recently in particular, as you said, you want to kind of get more into the health thing. He
immigrated here from, at the time, a communist country, and just got his citizenship like a month ago, and is a fitness guru. I mean, he's a jack freak. He speaks English very well. It's with an accent. But if you'd like, I'll put you in touch with him, because it was a great episode for us, and our people were just like over the moon for this guy. It was a really cool episode. He's diet, he's fitness, he's talking about. He takes it to a technician level. Here's what you need to do in the back of your truck when you can. Here's what you need to do before you get in that truck or out of that truck. Like, here's how you make yourself able to do this for a long, long time. And the time to start thinking about that is now, not 10 years from now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would definitely check that out. That's cool. So I want you to go be with Gene. You got a rock star at your office, and you're sitting here talking to this guy. So, but thank you so much for coming on, man. I really, really do appreciate you. I wanted to keep in touch. Another thing, to send the invite out. Like I said, once a year, I probably have, it's like a live stream we do, 4, 5, 6 people. But we literally sit there and we talk about addiction, and we give people the opportunity to talk to us live. They can ask us questions. We put our whatever email we want to give. Some people don't want to ask in a public forum, and maybe they resonate with one of us out of the 6 that are there, and they email us in private. But normally I try to do that like once a year. Miss Stacy Ford from last week from Triple Play Home Services, she's very big on addiction. It's not because of her, but what she's going through with like her daughter and some family members. So there's a few of us that get on there and do it. So if it's something that you're interested in, I'll definitely hit you up and let you know.
Yeah, 100%. I'll be involved for sure. We're planning an addiction episode. We just haven't quite nailed down what we're doing or who we're doing it with, but I would love to be part of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, let me know if you need another addict to be on there. I'd be more than happy to have the roles reversed.
You're making the calendar sooner than later, buddy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. And anything, and like, HVAC Uncensored's been around for a little bit, but I'm not perfect. I don't know anything, but all the guys know, like we said earlier, if I can help anybody with another show, I always do. That's why we always cross promote other shows, because we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to help people, technicians, business owners. It's not a race to see where we're going. There's enough techs and owners out there for all of us. You know what I mean? It really is.
Yeah, I still want to beat you, but I want you to do well too.
Yeah, hey, that's fine. Start running now.
The friendly, competitive nature, baby.
Yeah.
I want to be number 1 in my truck, but I want everybody else to do well too.
Hey, no, I hear you. That's why we always joke back and forth between different things. And I always say, hey, when it comes to downloads, show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Yeah, I won't play that game yet.
and like you said, I was the same way, that I never was like, I'd listen to an episode and be like, that kind of sucked, dude. Like, I don't know why are so many people listening to it? You'd be surprised how many people listen and how many people resonate with what you say. I don't know why a lot of people listen to me. I don't know. And you're not going to understand why a lot of people listen to you. And
I don't, but I do understand yours. As I told you when we first talked, a month ago or so, this is what I wanted to hear when I was in a truck. I either wanted to hear like hardcore sales presentation training, or that you, Gil, knows exactly what I'm going through in my workday. Like, you've been there before. That's all. It's like, it's literally what we call it on our show now. Our guest is who we're putting in your passenger seat. It's having somebody in my passenger seat that knows what I'm going through and just, been through it all as well. And it's like, yeah, it's funny, it's entertaining, but it's also uplifting, motivational. It's like you got a great show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, buddy, I'll close this out. We'll stay in touch. Let me send this thing out real fast, my man.
Cool.
Woo, let me just click this over. All right, guys, thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day this morning to see us. I want to thank Brian for coming on, Brian Burton. Please go check out that the Waste No Day podcast. I'll get you the link. It sounds like he's had some awesome guests. They're doing awesome content. And the man is a general manager of one of the biggest franchises in the country and what we do. All right, so definitely go support that and hit him up. You guys know that I'm always here, man. You guys need me in any way, I'm always willing to help. If if you ask a question that I don't know the answer to, then fuck it, we'll learn together. I'll find somebody else who knows the answer to it. I thank all of you for your support. I made a post a little week ago, so it's probably been almost 3 weeks ago now, but I want to thank everybody that HVAC Uncensored did surpass 1 million downloads. So that is, I don't know why, I don't know how, but I thank you guys so much for your support, man. I really, really do. And I always want to give back to you guys. We have some awesome guests coming up on future episodes. I know I missed live 2 weeks ago. Apologize. Remember, I took off the summer. I'm still getting back into the thick of things, so just bear with me. But yeah, man, I love you guys. Remember, always be safe out there. Always make it home the same way you left. Guys, do what the next guy's not doing, okay? Don't make excuses. Find a way to get through it. Find a way to get better, all right? There is always a way to get through any mental mind fuck that you may have, all right? The only person you got to compete with is yourself. Like Brian said, find a mentor. Go get training. If your office, your company doesn't provide it, which they should some, get it yourself. There's always a ways to get better. There's always ways to make more money, all right? So once again, if you need help on that, let me know. All right. Guys, remember to go ahead and download the podcast, share it with friends and family. Let's keep HVAC Uncensored Nation growing. If you have not joined the new HVAC Uncensored Facebook group, do so. Check out Instagram, YouTube, on all the platforms. I like to diversify, so that way, if God forbid Facebook shuts the group down again, I can still see you guys in different areas. All right. But until next week, I love you guys, and I will talk with you mofos later. All right. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.
Peace.